Greetings, comic book fans. I'm Jason. It is the 22nd of August 2017, and you are watching Comic Book Overload. Every week, I go out and spend far too much money on comics. I read those comics, have an overload of opinions on my brain, and this is where I come to download the overload as I share with you my opinions on some of the books I've read over the last 7 days. So, we're going to kick this show straight off. And we're going to start off from DC Comics, and we've got Green Arrow, issue number 29, written by Benjamin Percy with art by Juan Ferrara. And it seems like at this point in this story arc that Percy's kind of hit on, Benjamin Percy has hit on a formula for writing this arc of that, like Ollie goes and teams up with goes to the city that he needs to go to, teams up with the hero. Initially, they distrust each other. They eventually end up earning each other's trust through combat against the villain and teaming up. And then, Ollie gets the clue that moves him on to the next town. And I'm not kind of saying that's a bad thing because it's a formula that works for this arc. So that's not bad. And this issue, at least, it seemed to be sped up a bit, which makes sense because Batman mentions he spoke to the other heroes and kind of has an idea what Ollie's about now. So it makes sense that like they get into the trust part quicker, having heard of the other heroes. So that makes sense for this issue for it to be a slightly accelerated pace. I love the art in this. Juan Ferrara does the art, the inks, and the color. He's a complete artist, and it's just gorgeous the way he does it. I just love his use of paneling. I love the way he colours books. It's just brilliant. And I'd love to see this guy have a run on like so many different books because every hero he's drawn in this has been awesome. Like, look at that layout. What fantastic layout sequence there. All coloured lovely. So yeah, the book is just gorgeous to look at. It's one of those books I could just keep flicking through. And Juan Ferrara is definitely going to be an artist that I'm going to keep an eye on because I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to see him keep doing this book because this is my favourite hero. So to see him drawing this guy so awesomely, I want to keep seeing. But also, I'm curious in the future to see what he goes on to because I think he's an exceptional talent. As for the story, I love this issue where we have a double cliffhanger, and I'm really excited to see where that's going to go. Where Ollie has to go next is really exciting as a long-time Green Arrow reader. To see those two characters back together again and hopefully form a friendship is something that I've wanted to see for a long time. So that's going to be awesome. But also, there's a real big movement in the case and proving Ollie's innocence, that he didn't murder his secretary. So that's something that I'm excited to see how that's going to resolve itself as well. So yeah, all in all, this book just continued to be excellent, and I'd give Green Arrow issue number 29 10 out of 10. So next up we have Captain America issue number 25 from Marvel Comics, written by Nick Spencer with art by Jesus Ciez. And silly me, I should have read this book before Secret Empire issue number 8. Those of you who watched episode 3 of Comic Book Overload would have heard me say how I was a bit lost. There were a couple of events that had happened in another book, and I wish I knew what they were because I was a bit lost initially with Secret Empire reading these events had happened. And silly me, it was this book that I hadn't got round to reading yet. And if you look there, just under the shield, you'll see it says there, warning, read this issue before Secret Empire number 8. I wish they'd have put the warning on the cover. They may have even sold a few more issues if they'd done that, because I don't tend to flick through my books anymore. I don't want to get spoiled by anything, so I don't tend to flick through them until I'm reading them. So that's the first time I'm like looking at them. So when I opened this up and I saw that, and I was like, oh no, So I really think having it on the cover would have been much more effective. I really like the structure of this book. How the first half of the book is Cap. No, they're both Cap. So Steve Rogers and his further descent into darkness, and his ruthless mission to kind of get all the pieces of the cosmic cube. So in his mind, he can write reality to how it should be. And then you've got Sam Wilson in the second half of the book as kind of he and the heroes are kind of discovering a bit more hope. Where things looked hopeless, now there is at least a glimmer of light that they should be able to defeat Hydra and kind of win back America. So I like the structure of the books and how like they were light and dark and where these two characters are. Because for a long time, you know, Sam was in a dark place and Cap, things were looking good for him, and now the kind of their fortunes have reversed, and kind of that tells itself in the story that it's told here. So I like that. I wouldn't say it's a must read because I feel you get the gist of what happened enough just reading Secret Empire #8. But if you're a completist, this is definitely a must-have because you do have a couple of big events that happen in here that you need to know to kind of make more sense out of issue 8 of Secret Empire. So overall, I did Captain America issue number 25, 8 out of 10. So moving right along now to DC Comics, and we have Superman issue number 29, which is written by Keith Champagne. Is it Payne or Pang? With art by Doug Mankey. And I like Mankey's art, but we have 3 inkers on this issue. So the art kind of keeps changing, and it's like, it really is interesting to see kind of the difference the inkers make, because I think out of all the different things with the comics, the inkers is the one I least understand. But to see 3 different inkers here and to see how the art changes, how it really changes the art, really brings across how it's an important job that I don't think gets enough credit, because it's one of those subtle things. If you do your job well, it won't be noticed. If you do it badly, then it gets noticed. And also, it kind of makes me feel like, oh, so often if there's bad art, we will blame the artist. And kind of sometimes maybe it's the inker that we should be looking at, you know, how they've inked it could, as you can see from this book, really affects how the art is. But this is to be a common thing, especially with DC, where some books they'll have a lot of inkers, and I really wish that it was something that they respected more, because this issue really shows how much they can affect a book. As for the story, it's on a smaller scale. It's not Superman trying to save the world from aliens. It starts off as very much a missing persons thing. Children are going missing. Metropolis is kind of really nervous as these children keep going missing, and everybody's really protective over their kids. What's happening? Who's doing this? And Superman, being a parent himself, is desperate to find these children. So he flies. He's trying to find it, and it leads him. Eventually, we find Parallax is behind this, and we kind of get it's a whole big plot. And kind of then it does involve aliens. But I like how the story started on a smaller scale. Superman just being this regular hero, which I don't think we get enough of now. Everything seems to be just on these grand scales. And that's why I think the events have a harder time, because it used to be heroes who just back or local villains who just wanted to get rich or get power or something. Where now everything is like a worldwide big thing, and I feel when the stakes are bigger in your regular comics, it makes it that much harder for an event to stand out. But so I liked that how this started, and I enjoyed the issue, and we build to like a big cameo at the end, and I liked it. After the last 2 issues, which I didn't enjoy at all, it's nice to have an issue of the book that I enjoyed. And yeah, I know the argument could be it's filler, but I like that in between these bigger stories, we have these smaller stories where we just get to see them be either regular people or just doing heroic, smaller scale stuff. So yeah, I like this, and I'd give Superman issue 29 8 out of 10. So next up, we move over back to Marvel. We have Spider-Man 2, issue number 2, and this is written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Sarah Pichelli. And this was bad Bendis. I've really been praising Bendis lately because I went really off Bendis because I just wasn't enjoying his writing. But way back when, he was one of my favourite writers. And I kind of felt reading Spider-Man and reading The Defenders, I felt like Bendis was getting back to what he does well and what he does good. And this issue was bad Bendis, where you have an issue where nothing really happens, and you kind of like, what was the point of this? You know? But because the dialogue is so strong, which is his great strength, and you have just enough happens that it keeps your interest. But this was definitely, for me, was bad Bendis, as kind of like the characters didn't end up that further forward from where we were at the beginning of the issue. And there was just a lot of running around, a lot of fighting, some really cool dialogue. but then we're not really anywhere further. We've still got this mystery of Miles Morales. Who is he? Why is he so secretive? How does this Taskmaster know him? So yeah, there's a lot of questions still, and we don't seem to be any further forward to getting answers. Um, Hoping that the next issue is going to be better, and I'd give issue number 2 of Spider-Man 2 6 out of 10. So next up we move over to Titan Comics, and we have Doctor Who, the 12th Doctor Adventures, Year 3, issue number 5. And this issue we see Bill, who's the new companion of the last series of Doctor Who. She comes into this issue, and her and the Doctor are travelling in the TARDIS, and they end up in Viking times, and there's this group of Vikings that are trying to find this other group of Vikings, and there's these 2 ships that have crashed. So the Doctor, obviously, with the Vikings, goes to investigate what's happened, and we find out it's the Ice Warriors, and then kind of a big reveal at the end over what the other ship was. I enjoyed this. I thought this was really, really good. I thought Bill and the Doctor were spot on in the way that they were written. I also really enjoyed the art in this. I thought like the way that they drew the Doctor and Bill was really good. And just all around, the art in this is great. And I'm trying to find the page where we get the reveal of the Ice Warriors. And I thought the Ice Warriors as well were really well drawn. But yeah, this was good. This was really good. If you're enjoying the TV show, this is definitely well worth a read. The only thing I would kind of say negative about it is I don't think enough was done to really flesh out the Vikings and make them interesting. We know there's 2 groups of Vikings, and we know one has stolen something and one are seeking them. And there's the one character the one woman who seems to be a bit of she seems to have some kind of sight, some kind of mysterious, some kind of powers or something. I don't know what it is. But I don't think enough was done to make the Vikings interesting people, other than the fact that they're Vikings. But everything else about the book I really liked, and the reveal at the end over like what the other ship was brilliant, and I'm well excited to see what happens next in this one. And I'd give Doctor Who 12 Doctor Adventures Year 3 issue number 5 8 out of 10. So next up we got a bit of first issue fever, shall we say? First up, and this is a first issue from a couple of months ago. It is Secret Weapons number 1 from Valiant Comics, written by Eric. Now I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. Essenher, Eric Essenher, with art by Roel Allen and Patricia Martin, who I believe I don't think there was a colorist listed, so I think they do the colors as well. So this is a perfect first issue. It introduces our main protagonist, it introduces the villain, it introduces why the villain is after our protagonists, and it kind of sets the story up beautifully, makes us care about our heroes, make us dislike our villain, and I just thought was like in that way was a perfect first issue. A Valiant really hit a home run here. So basically the story is in the Valiant universe, where like you have mutants in the Marvel universe, in the Valiant universe they're called Scions, and there's this character called Arada who kind of brought together a lot of the Scions, and he's very much kind of like a Magneto type character, and he set up this place called the Willows, and it's this place for Scions whose abilities aren't that impressive when their powers come out. So he set this place up, but he's leaked online where this place is and who's there. So the place has got attacked. So this hero Livewire, who used to work for Harada but now is not, she heartbroken at what Harada has done to these kids. She's trying to find them to help them. To make matters worse, we've got this kind of creature that is after them, that bathes in, I don't know if it's their blood or their broken up bodies, but it bathes in something that's from them and kind of is able to absorb their abilities from that. And he's trying to capture each of them so that he can kind of absorb each of their abilities. And the creature is kind of like a Terminator, like a monster. It's kind of pretty much unstoppable, and kind of is just set on its mission. Can't be bargained or bartered with or coerced. It's just straightforward, like a horror movie monster. It's just got its mission in mind. Our main character is Nicole Finch, whose ability is that she can talk to birds, which actually ends up being a really cool ability. And Owen Chow, whose ability is he can conjure things up. So like we meet him, he working in a shop, but he can't. And this he suddenly conjures up this gun because the twist to his power is he can't control it. He can't control what he conjures up. So he conjures up this gun and he gets fired from his workplace because he had a firearm in his workplace. So it's but the two characters are really well introduced. We instantly become to like them and to care about them and make sure they're okay. So when we've got the villain chasing them, you kind of we're scared for them and what's going to happen to them. In particular, I like Nicole. I thought she's really cool, but both characters were really likable. The coloring in this is also really awesome, and there's no colors listed, so I'm imagining the artist Raoul Allen and Patricia Martin. They did the colors as well as the art. But yeah, I loved this. Fantastic, well worth a read, and it gives Secret Weapons issue number 1 10 out of 10. So next up, I don't know if this counts as an issue 1 or if it's more of like a one shot, but we have Generations. You can either call this Generations the Best or Generations All New Wolverine and Wolverine. And this is published obviously by Marvel Comics, written by Tom Taylor with art by Ramon Rosanas. Yeah, these names, I kind of thinking it's a bad idea to read the creative people's names out because, like, some of the surnames, I'm like, I'm not good with English, but some of these surnames, let's try that again. Ramon Rosanas. Hopefully, I haven't butchered it too much. But anyway, this issue is another one of the Generations books where we have the old hero team up with the young hero. So we start off, it's a Wolverine story. Logan is in Japan battling these undead ninjas. And then our all new Wolverine shows up. And very much like the Hulk one, which is the only other one that I've read of the Generations books. Very much like the Hulk one, where they were like, we don't know how or why he's ended up there. It's kind of like, again, we have that same thing here. And for me, I mean, that's the one bad thing I can say about the book is that, like, it's we don't know why Laura is there. She doesn't know why she's there, and we don't know how long. How does she know how long she's going to be there or what? So there's a lot of questions to this going in that you're kind of like. But if you can put them aside and just read the book for a team up, I think you'll end up really enjoying this. Laura decides to help Logan as Logan and Mariko adopted a little girl and she's been kidnapped by the Hand, and so Logan's trying to get her back as they're chasing the Hand, and so it's like all action of them chasing, but we have these nice little moments. There's a really nice inner monologue from Logan, and these nice moments between Logan and Laura as they're kind of chasing the villains. It's all action, and we have the big reveal at the end of which villain was behind it all, and that villain is in his old outfit, which was awesome. Real nostalgic to see that villain in his original costume. And then at the end, there's a really heartwarming moment between Laura and Logan that really had me like tear up. It was a really beautiful moment. And yeah, this was really, really well done. Like I say, if you can get past the fact that we don't know how Laura got there, why she's beamed back, and at a particular point, that there's a lot we don't know. If you can let go of that and just enjoy it for what it is, a cool team up, you come away actually really rewarded, as I really enjoyed it and I didn't expect such an emotional resonance over like a one shot. But I think Tom Taylor hit a home run here, and I would give this book 9 out of 10. So finally this week we have what would have been the big release from last week. It is a Dark Knights Metal issue number 1. This is the new event from DC Comics, and I really enjoyed this. Going in, I was a bit nervous because I'd really liked the casting, but I didn't like the Forge, which were the two books that set this up. And so I was a bit nervous what I was going to get here, but I came away really enjoying it. I want to get the negativity out of the way first, the art. I had to check the book because it says Greg Capullo on art, and I was like, oh wow, that's going to be really cool, Greg Capullo. But then when I actually looked at the art, particularly in the beginning, it did not look to the standard I expect from Greg Capullo, and that is established. Having read Superman, I kind of now, I'm not sure whether we should blame the inker. I'm just going to check we've got an inker on this. We're bound to have an inker. He doesn't do his own inks, does he? Um, you know, when you want the credits, you can never find them, can you? I should have checked this before. No, I can't find it. Ah! Why do you hide from me? No, I'm going to give up, as I'm just going to be flicking back and forth through the book. So yeah, I don't know if we got if it's the inker, but yeah, the art just didn't look right. But other than that, the rest of the book was really, really good. I'm not a fan of having a divine plan for Batman or that like destiny of him becoming Batman. And I know that kind of plays into like the Flashpoint universe where even though Bruce Wayne was killed, his dad still became Batman. So it's a thing, a legacy for the Waynes, and kind of the bat for the Waynes is always a thing going all the way back, and it's always been a big plan. I don't like that. I like the idea that like Batman was created from a random act of violence, that there's no rhyme or reason for it. There was no conspiracy. There was no great plan. There was no higher purpose. It was just a random act of violence. I've always liked that idea of it just being totally random, but it seems these days that there's a lot of writers that kind of want to make this like big preordained thing that Batman was all that Wayne was always going to eventually become a Batman. But like, I'm not going to get that cloud how I look at the story because that'd be unfair. Saying, oh, this is what I think it should be. So because it's not like what I expect, I'm going to mark down the book. No, I'm going to judge this on its own merits and kind of like putting that to one side. Even though I'm not a fan of the whole big plan, I did like this book. I like that beginning where we have the Justice League have been captured by Mongol, and he's got a new war world, and he's put them in this like gladiator pit with this special armor on, so our heroes can't use their powers, and they're having to back all these different creatures, which I really like that. And then they kind of team up, get the armor off, and they're able to kind of form this big kind of like Justice League, like Megazord kind of robot thing, um, which was really, really cool. Oh, I found the credits page. Woohoo! Looking for the art, I found it. We do have inks. Jonathan Gampion is on inks, so I don't know if he's to blame for the art at the beginning, but it wasn't right. But I liked that open with the Justice League. I thought that was really good. Seeing our heroes succeed was really good, and then the return to Earth. What's a bit bad has happened in Gotham, which like all the Justice League then go to Gotham to investigate what's happened, and kind of that sort of jumpstarts our story as the reintroduction of characters we've not seen in a long time, which all culminates with the last page with a character turning up who I didn't initially know who they were, but then I went and did a bit of research and I was like, wow, because I know at the beginning of the New 52 they tried to bring all the different characters they owned together. With the exception of the Watchmen, they weren't in there, but like they brought like Constantine and Swamp Thing and some of the Wildstorm characters. They kind of brought all of those characters kind of into the regular DC universe, and kind of they've kind of since had the Wildstorm stuff split off again. But like a lot of characters have changed, and it seems with the upcoming Doomsday Clock story, which looks like it's going to see the Watchmen kind of enter the DC universe. Um, it looks like they're trying to do that again now with some of the other characters, and so the character here who pops up at the end is a character from a Vertigo comic. So that was sort of like initially I didn't get because I've not read a lot of Vertigo, but when I saw who it was, when I was like, wow. And I think that's one of the things about this book for me. I think if you're a long time DC reader, if you're a big hardcore DC fan, I think there's a lot of things in this you'll love. With the reappearances of characters or setting things up, I think there's a lot to like here, and I think it will have a lot more resonance for regular DC fans than it will be for like people like me who are kind of late to the party, if you will. Um, but yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. It's a story that does feel epic. It's one of those books I feel that you have to concentrate when you read because it is a bit complex in parts. And it's not one of those books you can kind of be half watching the telly, half reading the book. You have to give this book your full attention, but you will be rewarded with a really good story. And this really kicks off the event really strong. And I give issue 1 of Dark Knight's Meckle 9 out of 10. So those are my books for this episode. I will be back on Wednesday with a Comic Haul weekly video, all being well. And then at some point, maybe next week, maybe the week after, you'll see another one of these comic book overload videos. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate everybody's views. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've got any books or opinions that you want to share with me, please comment below. Or even if you just kind of want to say something about what I've said about the books, please, again, comment below. I always love comments. And I'll try and get to respond to them as promptly as I can. It is something that I need to get better at. But anywho, once again, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching and say that I've been Jason. You've been watching Comic Book Overload. Ugh, my mind's already on Wednesday. You've been watching Comic Book Overload. Keep reading, and bye for now.